It's amazing, I know, but there are still some people desperate to not only excuse the Chibnall era, not only to justify it, but some are still claiming it's the best era ever. To claim this, one has to be an idiot, or have no taste, or just be one of the hive mind J-bots, people that aren't really fans of the show, were never true fans of the show, and only claim to like it because it's what their cool friends are also claiming to like. And by cool, I mean, actually, I don't have to say anything, just look at Twitter. So anyway, last week Screen Rant put out an article that must be one of the most ludicrous things I've seen in a long time. And trust me, I've seen a lot. Doctor Who, 10 Ways Chris Chibnall is the best showrunner ever. You'd think this is a parody. Surely, it must be a parody. After all, some of the creepy people on Twitter and YouTube see the way the wind is blowing, and now claim that the Chibs era has problems, although they always seem to miss what the biggest problems are, and then YouTube puts them on trending cause boxes. But no, my friends, sadly, this is real. But the internet is happy because it gave us something to laugh at as we watch the world continue to unravel around us. Apparently, the writer's efforts have brought a truly fresh slant to Doctor Who, which may make him the sci-fi series' best showrunner to date. This person must be desperate for a role on Doctor Who, or desperate to get in with my fans on Twitter. But he's right that the show is slanted now. It's been slanted right into hell. During his time as Doctor Who's showrunner, Chris Chibnall has proven himself to be one of the show's most influential creatives. Really, dude, he has been influential, no doubt. Perhaps a bit too influential. After all, no previous showrunner has ever dared to completely destroy the show's lore for woke cred. He has ushered the show into a bright new era of diversity and representation. Well, there you have it. The entire point of the article, and the only thing these people ever pretend to care about. It doesn't matter if something has been turned into rancid donkey poop, as long as that donkey poop is diverse, proving that there is a space for all in the Doctor's trusty TARDIS. That would be space for some, but not that one demographic. You know, the demographic that makes up 90% of Doctor Who's fan base. Or people from other demographics that refuse to toe the line. There also doesn't seem to be any space for even remotely competent storytelling. Many choices are likely to leave a significant impact on Doctor Who's future. Sadly, that would be correct, sir, as Chibnall has opened the door to previously unexplored storytelling adventures, most of which we wish had been left unexplored, while remaining true to the heart of the show. Really, dude? Really? The writer's efforts have brought a truly rancid, fresh slant to Doctor Who, which may make him the sci-fi series' best showrunner to date. There are a few people on Twitter who would agree with you, but they aren't entirely mentally stable, so I wouldn't use that as a gauge. Number 10, casting the first female Doctor, because of course that would be on the list. Also considered one of the best things Jodie Whittaker has ever done. Good lord. Well then, God help anyone who watches anything else she's done. One of Chibnall's best decisions has been casting the first female Doctor, and then we found out what terrible, terrible things he was about to do to our formerly favorite show. In January 2017, when Peter Capaldi was forced out after saying he wanted to stay for a very long time, announced he was leaving Doctor Who, speculation was rife that the next Doctor would be played by a woman. Yeah, it was. And if only we knew how this nightmare would unfold. And it didn't have anything to do with gender. These theories were proven right when Broadchurch actor Jodie Whittaker was cast in the role because Chibs was too lazy to cast anybody he didn't already know and anybody that didn't share his twisted ideology. I should also point out that every theory I had expecting the worst back in 2017 came true. Then it got worse than even I could imagine, which is saying a lot because, as some of you may have noticed, I tend to be a bit of a pessimist. Casting a woman in the lead part after previously having been played exclusively by white British men, oh, how clever of you bringing that up. My Twitter fans will be singing your praises until they get bored of you, cancel you, and then head off to grift other things, was without a doubt a bold choice to make. They love that word, bold, which usually means completely and utterly destroying something while telling its fans how terrible they are. You know, the brilliant business strategy that's implemented over and over again, but one that absolutely paid off. You're leaking the original intentions again, little dude. The move not only opened up the role to a larger proportion of diverse actors, there's that word again, but also gifted young girls their own vision of the Doctor to look up to, while telling males that they could fuck off and die. Number 9, a grounded approach. Well, this should be good. With the show formerly as heightened and fantastical as Doctor Who, it can be hard sometimes for more casual audiences to relate to the situations that the Doctor and their, I see what you did there with the pronoun, companions find themselves embroiled in. So Chibs decided that the best way of dealing with this was to chase those audiences away. This is something that Chibnall clearly understands. How to chase people away. Well, yes, that does seem to have been the point, having decided to pay particular attention to the companions' personal circumstances in a way that in no way reflects reflects reality, but I suppose he did accurately demonstrate what happens when you become a cop based only on the boxes you check and not based on your ability, competence, qualifications, and so forth. In the first episode, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Chibnall, with no effort whatsoever, introduced the viewers to the lives of Graham, Ryan, and Yaz by giving a glimpse into their everyday lives. Throughout the series, he returns to their present time. Yeah, because that's never been done before, showing how the companions, friends, and loved ones are affected by their disappearances, because RTD and Moffat made no attempts at this whatsoever. This makes them instantly relatable to viewers. It does? Can't say I entirely agree with that statement, as it normalizes their otherwise exaggerated experiences, because it's not like this is a sci-fi fantasy show or anything, and grounds them within a human context, a very, very toxic and unpleasant context. And perhaps by grounded approach, this means Chibs ran the show into the ground, because that's exactly what happened. The Yorkshire Setting. Since Doctor Who returned to screens in 2005, the show's present-day locations have largely been centered around London. Apparently you never watched the show when Stephen Moffat took over, when he deliberately centered his stories on Scotland, because that would require, research. This has resulted in Earthbound stories becoming somewhat predictable in later years, with most episodes revolving around alien invasions taking place within the UK capital. Dude, this was the norm at the beginning of the run. Again, it may help if you actually, watch the show. Thankfully, Chibnall has rectified this by opting to set most present-day stories within the Yorkshire city of Sheffield. I actually feel quite bad for Sheffield. It may never recover from this. This change of location has brought a real breath of fresh air to proceedings. Not so much fresh air. I've done this comparison before. It's more like the end of an indoor chili eating contest. A contest where the chili has gone off and everybody is just standing there shitting themselves. The bathrooms are clogged, the doors are locked, and the air has stopped circulating. That ain't fresh, dude, but it may be preferable to the Chibs era, with Earthbound stories being free to show new locations that had not previously featured in prior series. Yes, new locations perfect for lecturing. Gone are the somewhat repetitive shots of St. Paul's Cathedral and Big Ben, and in its place, some new establishing imagery of the Sheffield skyline, and the worst and most destructive storylines anybody has ever been unfortunate enough to witness. Number 7. Casting Bradley Walsh. One of the most impressive aspects of Doctor Who since its 2005 revival is how it has continued to attract major British names. As I can be fair, yes, Walsh was one of the only positives about the show. I especially like the way he obviously stopped caring about partway through. I'm so sorry, dude, you thought you were being cast in Doctor Who, and ended up with this. The writers were happy because now they had an older white male punching bag and subject of mockery, and boy did they take advantage of that. The new series has seen famous faces, such as Catherine Tate and Matt Lucas, take on the part of the Doctor's companions. However, perhaps one of the most inspired choices has been Chris Chibnall's decision to cast Bradley Walsh as Graham O'Brien, and the poor man's career may forever be tarnished. Please pray for Bradley Walsh to put his 2 years in hell behind him. It's hard to imagine how Chibnall could have cast this role any better. It's hard to imagine Chibnall casting any role competently, with many considering Graham to be one of Doctor Who's best companions. No, it's just that as the only good actor around, he stood out in a lake of liquid poop. Walsh offers both a funny and tragic performance. Tragic fits, as the Doctor Who companion, who soon finds himself a widow after his wife Grace dies in the Series 11 opener, and then he's worried that his cancer is coming back and gets brushed off by the abandoned diverse alien space baby. How delightful. Number 6. Arachnids in the UK. This is where my theory of this article being a parody strengthens. But then I must remind myself that it isn't. Good lord. Doctor Who is known for its horror tropes, with many viewers over the years having to hide behind the sofa from the series' monstrous creations. I see the little dude did some Googling for common Doctor Who phrases. The Chibs era is no exception, with a few episodes sending viewers trembling in fright, or frustration, and anger. Perhaps the most successful is Arachnids in the UK, penned by Chibnall, which presented one of the show's most terrifying takes on spiders. To clarify, this is actually the episode where many people gave up on the Chibs alien space baby era. They gave it a chance, and especially after this, there was no longer any doubt as to where they were headed. The only surprising part is how much worse it got. The episode is a masterclass in creepy storytelling. There is a very large creepy factor to this era, but it has nothing to do with creating scary stories, strongly evoking the feel of British B-horror movies. As a fan of B-horror movies, I actually take offense to that comment. One of the most striking moments is the giant spider crawling out of the bathtub, a particularly horrifying and unsettling image that lingers in the mind long after the episode finishes. Man, you people are even weaker than I thought. It's a terrifying piece by Chibnall and one of his strongest works for Doctor Who. I really don't have anything more to say here. I'm sure Doctor Who's American fans really enjoyed having an entire episode dedicated to shitting on them. His approach with returning monsters, other than turning the abandoned diverse alien space baby into a rather unpleasant creature, there is very little to say about the monsters in this era. Over the course of the show's history, there have been many monsters who have returned numerous times due to their popularity. Sometimes these return appearances can fail to live up to previous stories, but occasionally the show's creators manage to satisfy the audience's expectations for a rematch. The only rematch we wanted to see was abandoned diverse alien space baby finally being defeated. This is absolutely the case with Chris Chibnall, who has proven to have a strong handling in the way these monsters are presented on screen. Also of note, Chibs didn't actually want to bring any classic monsters back. He wanted to stick with his own brilliant creations, like the Tooth Monster, but then the BBC forced his hand. Then we laughed. Then we saw what he did with them. Then we were just sad. Particularly noteworthy is his use of the Daleks and Cybermen, none of which we will ever see in quite the same way again. Resolution, considered one of the best Dalek stories of the new Who series. Considered by who? Well, by you, of course. I guess that happens when you haven't watched much prior to 2018, neatly demonstrates the unstoppable strength of one whammin' Dalek, whilst in The Haunting of Villa de I Don't Give a Shit, audiences are introduced to partially converted Cyberman Ashad, who chillingly recounts how he killed his own children. Ah yes, that episode that helped in the runoff to canon evisceration. These episodes contribute greatly to restoring the fear factor of these monsters, who had previously lost some of their impact due to frequent defeats. Defeating them was the point, little dude. Number 4, surprises. Oh dear, previous showrunners have struggled greatly in keeping the contents of their series a secret, with many plot points and returning characters leaking out due to either set photos or press interference. That's because people were actually excited about the show back then, and some would do anything for some intel. Chris Chibnall has taken a particularly strong stance in attempting to prevent these leaks and has proven surprisingly successful, largely because absolutely nobody cares, and even when something does leak out, the response is, meh, whatever. Remember the days when the show was good? I miss those days. Chibnall's determination to keep spoilers under wraps has resulted in many of the revival's most memorable moments, with returning characters. Remember the now cancelled Jack Barrowman looking confused as hell as to why he was there? No worries, dude. Even Chibs didn't know why you were there. And surprise, identities being kept a secret until transmission. No, they were all leaked. The response was a mix of I don't care and I doubt even Chibs would be that stupid. Audiences were gobsmacked when Joe Martin was revealed as the fugitive doctor in Fugitive of the Jadoon, also leaked months earlier, but again, nobody thought that Chibs would be that stupid, and the writers later revealed the Doctor to be the abandoned diverse alien space baby, also known as the day Doctor Who died after 2 years of relentless torture. Spyfall. In many ways, the series openers are one of the show's most important episodes. Then Chibs came along. They give the showrunner the perfect opportunity to grab the audience's interest early on and set the tone for the remainder of the series. Well, at least he did that. Both of Chris Chibnall's series contain particularly strong opening episodes, but perhaps the standout here is Series 12's opener, Spyfall. Yes, everyone just loved the scene when Dr. Egomaniac claimed she's an upgrade over her predecessors, kind of like in the way Windows Vista was technically an upgrade. Here, Chibs delivers an amusing riff on the popular spy franchise James Bond, which also made clear it was going woke at the time, so it was a perfect fit, setting up many of the film's series' iconic tropes, including the signature music and frequent casino locations. In other words, Chibs couldn't come up with anything original, so he just ripped a bunch of stuff off. It also feels like a strong callback to the Pertwee era. Man, you really haven't watched any classic Who, have you? Particularly with the inclusion of the Master, who was a constant presence during John Pertwee's time in the TARDIS. Yes, the Master only appeared in the Pertwee era. Number 2, disabled representation. For a show as progressive as Doctor Who, actually it was progressive in the genuine sense of the word, now it's just regressive and degenerate, it is somewhat surprising that the program rarely features characters with disabilities. While the expanded media has performed better on this front, the main series has focused largely on non-disabled characters. This all changed with the Chibs era, which saw the introduction of the first companion with a disability. Remember that because most people probably forgot. Fitting, since the writers also forgot. For his first 2 series, Chibnall opted to introduce the character of Ryan Sinclair, a young man from Sheffield with dyspraxia. Remember the whole 3 scenes where that was mentioned. Dyspraxia is a condition that is rarely featured on television, and Chibs' Doctor Who, making this a major stepping point for representation. Actually, introducing it and then forgetting about it might be the reverse of that. In episodes such as The Ghost Monument and Kerblam, Chibs showed the kind of struggles Ryan faces. Did he though? While also ensuring to demonstrate that Ryan's dyspraxia does not hold him back. No, that was the terrible writing. Number 1. Casting Sacha Dhawan as the Master. For much of the show's 50-year history, the part has been traditionally played by white British males. A sin in current year. This changed in 2017 when Stephen Moffat cast Michelle Gomez as the first female Master, which few complained about because gender wasn't the focus, and Gomez has, actual talent. And Moffat had, actual writing talent. And Chibnall opened the role up further when he cast Sacha Dhawan as the scheming Time Lord, allowing him to become the first British South Asian actor to play the role. Notice how the main and only focus with these people is always gender and race. It's almost like they're ists or something. Chibnall's casting decision was absolutely spot on here. Dhawan brings a unique blend of both classic and new style to the Master, displaying the eccentricities of the John Sim incarnation coupled with the more suave and manipulative undertones of Roger Delgado's iconic portrayal. I will say that yes, Dhawan was one of the few category hires that actually could act, and that may have been by accident. He was competent, but he was far from being the best Master, and the overacting wasn't anywhere near as effective as it was with someone like John Sim or Anthony Ainley, and what he had to work with was terrible. And there you have it, another shill article desperately trying to explain why Chib's era was good. I hope you all had as good a laugh as I did. And that's it for today. As always, everyone, thanks for watching, and have a great day.